I was sitting on my front porch, sipping my coffee, when something caught my eye. At first, I thought it was just some birds nesting on my roof, or maybe a squirrel up to no good. But as I looked closer, really squinted against the early morning sunny froze. Something was off. There were 3 strange metal boxes bolted into the shingles of my roof. Blinking green lights. I nearly dropped my mug. Those weren't anything I'd put up there. I grabbed my phone and zoomed in. Wi-Fi repeaters. Powerful ones. The kind that get used for wide area coverage. Who in the world would stick these on my roof without asking? The answer came to me right then. It had to be the HOA. Now, to back up a bit, I live on a ranch, just outside a suburban development. We're talking real country life, you know? My ranch was here long before these cookie-cutter houses popped up like mushrooms after the rain. The HOA didn't like that. They decided my ranch was suddenly part of their zone, whatever that meant. I never signed anything. I didn't pay any dues. But that didn't stop them. They harassed me constantly. I've lost count of how many complaints I've gotten. So there I was, standing in front of my house, looking up at the roof, feeling the heat of that frustration rise. I stormed inside, opened my laptop, and sure enough, buried in the spam folder, there was a message from the HOA's tech committee. They were expanding the neighborhood Wi-Fi coverage, and apparently, my home was perfectly positioned to be used as a repeater station. No request, no signature, just a notice. I was boiling. I grabbed my phone, called their office voicemail. I sent in a mail, no reply. I wasn't done. I drove down to their headquarters, this smug little brick building in the middle of town. It's got those fake plastic plants in the windows and motivational posters about unity all over the place. I waited for 2 hours just to speak to a guy named Brad. He looked like he didn't know the first thing about a hammer, and he smiled at me like he was doing me a favor. "Sir, your home was selected because of its elevation," he said. "It provides the best signal spread. You're contributing to the community." I snapped. I didn't agree to this. Brad pointed to a printed sheet. Tiny fonts. Legal gibberish. "It's in the addendum." Addendum? What the hell was that? I snatched the paper out of his hands, and without another word, I left. Back at home, I was fuming. I didn't even wait. I climbed up onto the roof myself, unscrewed one of those boxes, and brought it down. There was a logo on it. NeighborNet. Local broadband company. And on the bottom, a sticker that said, "SAW property of HOA. Do not remove SAW." My blood was boiling. That night, I called my buddy Caleb. Caleb is a licensed internet technician. He used to run his own ISP before life took him down a different path. I showed him the box. He whistled low. "High-power commercial-grade extenders," he said. "These things are expensive, and they're definitely using your power and bandwidth." I asked him, "What if I switched Pro VYDers?" Caleb grinned. "They wouldn't be able to connect anymore. But we can take this a step further." I looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" He leaned in, his voice dropping. "You can charge them to keep using your roof. You know, like rent." I stared at him, completely taken aback. "Is that even legal?" Caleb shrugged. "They're using your space without your permission. That's trespassing." So, we got to work. I called my provider and canceled my Serv-YC. Gone. Then Caleb helped me set up a private Serv-YC using his old business infrastructure. We rigged the equipment so that the HOA's dev-YCES couldn't connect unless they logged into my system first. I even drafted an invoice, $3,000 $3,000 a month for usage fees, power compensation, and roof access rent. I sent it to the HOA's tech committee and CC'd every member of the board. Oh, and I sent it to the neighborhood's Facebook group, too. At first, silence. Then denial. And then came the storm. A black SUV rolled into my driveway that same afternoon. Out stepped the HOA president, Denise Foster. She was tall, thin, wearing power heels that clicked with every step on the gravel like she owned the place. She marched up to me, her assistant trailing behind her, looking like he was trying to keep up with her pace. "You've interfered with HOA infrastructure," she snapped. "No," I said calmly. "I've reclaimed my property." Her eyes narrowed. She held up a tablet and showed me some kind of report. "You've caused a Serv-YC disruption across the entire northern subdivision. You'll be fined." I laughed. "Oh no, Denise. You'll be billed." She stared at the invoice, looking like I had just slapped her in the face. "You can't do this," she hissed. "Oh, I can," I said. "And if you don't like it, you're welcome to remove your stuff off my roof." They left in a huff, but that wasn't the end of it. That night, my power went out. At first, I thought it was just a random outage. But then I looked outside. The lights from every other house on the block were one except mine. The HOA office, right across the field, was lit up. I checked my phone, and sure enough, there was a message from an unknown number. "So you want to play games? Let's play." "Saw." I froze. The message was clear. They were retaliating, and I wasn't going to back down. The next morning, I went straight to the sheriff's office. But before I could even finish telling the deputy what had happened, my front gate camera bust. 3 men in reflective vests were climbing my fence, heading straight for the roof. I raced out of the sheriff's office before the deputy could even ask me to slow down. My ranch wasn't just land. It was my home. And now, these HOA goons were crossing a line. When I got to the edge of my property, I saw them. 3 guys in bright orange vests, clipboards in hand, acting like they were official city workers. But I knew better. One was halfway up the ladder, reaching for the repeater box we hadn't gotten to yet. I slammed the brakes on my truck and jumped out. "Hey," I shouted. The guy on the ladder froze, and the other 2 turned around, clearly surprised to see me. "This is private property," I barked. "You're trespassing." The guy on the ground flashed some ID, but I didn't even look at it. "We're with Neighborhood Communications," he said. "We're just here to perform maintenance." "No," I snapped. "You were told wrong. And now I've got you on video." I pulled out my phone, showing the footage from my cameras. They hesitated for a moment, then turned around. They practically ran back to their truck and took off. I thought that was the end of it, but it wasn't. Later that day, I got a voicemail from the HOA's tech committee. "Mr. Porter," the voice on the other end said, "it seems there's been a misunderstanding. The team sent to your property was acting on prior permissions granted to the HOA under community development protocols. We hope to resolve this amicably." Amicably? Yeah, right. That night, Caleb and I worked through the night, installing full-range security upgrades, motion sensors, new lights, and a camera system that linked directly to my cloud account. We even put up a sign by the gate, "Saw private ranch. Surveillance active. Trespassers will be prosecuted." Saw. It was time to go on the offensive. The next few days were a blur. I did some digging and contacted NeighborNet, asking if they could trace the installation orders for the repeater boxes on my roof. Matt, the guy I spoke with, was polite but tight-lipped. "Sir, unless you're the account holder." I interrupted him. "I'm the property owner they're using without my consent." He hesitated. "That's definitely a situation. Let me escalate this." An hour later, I got a call, but it wasn't from Matt. It was from NeighborNet's legal team. They discovered something surprising. The HOA had applied for a community tech grant claiming they had received voluntary access to high points in the neighborhood for Wi-Fi distribution. My ranch was listed as one of the approved nodes. The only problem? They had forged my signature. I felt sick looking at the document they sent me. I forwarded everything to my lawyer and marched down to the sheriff's department to file a formal report. A week later, I got a call from a mom in the neighborhood. She was furious. Apparently, her son's online classes kept dropping because of the HOA's system failure. The HOA had told her I was to blame. I drove home, ready to explode. When I pulled up, I saw it spray-painted across my gate. "Saw community enemy the one saw." I froze. My hands curled into fists. They'd gone too far. But I didn't touch it. I didn't erase it. Instead, I took photos from every angle, posted them online with a caption, "Saw this is what happens when you expose an HOA's illegal Wi-Fi scheme and stand up for your rights. My ranch. My roof. My rules. Saw." The post exploded. It went viral. Local news stations called. Even a tech blog picked it up, and soon the story was everywhere. But the real bombshell came next. I got a call from a state investigator. NeighborNet had filed a report about the HOA's illegal active Wi-Fi ties, including fake permits and unauthorized Wi-Fi repeater zones. Suddenly, the HOA was under investigation. But just when I thought the tide was turning in my favor, I got served. A lawsuit from the HOA. They were suing me for $250,000 in damages, claiming I'd interfered with critical infrastructure. But my lawyer, Angela, laughed when she read it. "They're bluffing. It won't hold." But I wasn't laughing. The court date was set for 2 weeks later, and the judge? He lived in the subdiv Weishown. The night before the trial, I couldn't sleep. I laid on the couch in the barn, listening to the sounds of the night. My mind was racing. The next day, everything would change. Or so I thought. The courtroom was packed. The media was outside. The HOA members walked in, but Denise, she looked more rattled than I'd ever seen her. She didn't have her usual smug grin. It was gone. And when the judge handed down his ruling, I could hardly believe it. Saw the court fines in favor of Mr. Porter. Saw he awarded me due $950,000 in damages. The room gasped. I didn't even breathe. I just stared ahead. But the best part? The judge ordered a criminal investigation into the HOA's actions. They had forged my signature, tampered with my property, and tried to lock me out of my own land. Denise looked like she was going to choke on her own words. And right then, I knew the battle was over. I had won. But the war? That was just getting started. What do you think? Have you ever faced an HOA overreach? What's the worst thing they've tried to do to you? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's get a conversation going.